everyone. It took me a little bit now to start off this stream. Still trying to get all these setups. Still gotta train a little bit more for this. Rather rookie. But what matters today is that it's day for another team analysis. Today I'm going solo once again. Groupama, FDJ and Intermarché, Wanty-Gobert Matériaux are the two teams that I'm going to be analyzing today. Try to make a little quicker video. The teams aren't also as complex as some of the ones that we've approached in the last few videos. Now the first team that we've got, obviously Groupama FDJ, a team that had a good season but with some disappointments. Arnaud Demar and Thibaut Pinot have very different seasons. We're going to start off with Arnaud Demar, and can he keep his winning ways? So last year, if I'm not mistaken, he took a total of 14 wins despite the tremendous cancellation of numerous races throughout the year. He took 2 overall wins, if I'm not mistaken, in Wallonie, if I'm not mistaken, and also the Tour of Poitou-Charentes. And as you can see, it's literally all full of wins, all the way from Milano-Torino until the end of the Giro. He took countless wins. He's got a tremendously strong and very set lead out with the likes of Ramon Sinkeldam, Mal Scottson, Jacopo Guarnieri. Lots of names. Demar absolutely blasted last season. In my opinion, the most dominant sprinter. I would hope that you would agree with me in this. Can he keep his winning ways in 2021 is a big question. I think that he's going to target, and he's going to the Tour exactly. Unlike Thibaut Pinot. This is my opinion, of course, not based on anything I've read so far. I think that he's going to be there. He may take a stage win, but throughout the season I do expect a whole lot of results from him. A lot of wins. His lead out remains here all the same. Confidence must be sky high, and not only can he really battle it out with the best sprinters in the world, those flat finishes, he can also do the classics very well. He can do the hills very well. He was very close to being the European champion as well. He's got great legs. I would believe that we're going to see a whole lot more wins from him this season. Another very interesting rider that has come onto the team from its under 23 rankings is Jake Stewart, with Marc Sarrault moving to AG2R, if I'm not mistaken. The team has lost its secondary sprinter, but it has gained a new one here in the British talent, only 21 years old. He took a very impressive youth classification win in the Tour of Limousin, where he took 2 second places. He led the team, the elite team, of course. He had a very strong spree of strong results last season, which included a very good classics campaign for what was stagiaire in the pro team. I'm really excited to see what he's capable of doing. He's clearly a great talent, very young, only 21 years old. It came from one of the transfers. Of course, the team hasn't done any huge transfers this season, has neither won or lost any of its leaders, but it's got some good talent. Clément Davy, another rider coming from the continental team, as is Lars Vandenberg. Matteo Badilati is an experienced rider coming from Israel Startup Nation. A little bit of a surprising transfer for me, if I am totally honest. And Attila Walter from CCC, a very promising climber from Hungary, one of the most prominent riders from the country, who is evoluting as well very solidly, and I would say that is a good rider for stages at Grand Tours, perhaps a future GC rider. He won the Tour of Hungary last season, and really excited to see how he develops. He's one of the riders that I favor the most. I really like him, to be honest. We've got also Alexis Brunel. It's his second season in the team, and I'm expecting a lot from him. I will get to him later though. The second question here would be if Thibaut Pinot can get his best legs back. Now, if you know me, you know I am a very, very big Pinot fan. I touted him as the biggest contender to win the Tour in 2019 after I saw the first few stages. In 2020, I also touted him as one of the biggest favorites, and he did look like it, but he is at points not consistent, and not only by the way he rode, by the way he spoke after that stage, it did seem like Pinot has had enough of trying to win the Tour. My honest opinion is that the best thing he would do would be to stay out of the Tour this year. Clearly it's not good for any GC attempt that he may target. If he's there to win stages, he has done so plenty of times in the past. He has nothing to prove there. And the team would win a lot more, if I'm totally honest, if they would focus around Arnaud Demar and take some stage hunters. I would put Valentin Madoua, who is a rider who's gaining experience, developing very well, and perhaps Rudy Mollard as well. Some climbers, some stage hunters, Kung perhaps as well, to go there, try to net some stages. I think it would be the wisest decision. And then at the Giro, I would put Pinot doing both the Giro Vuelta double, with Reichenbach perhaps, and maybe also Gaudu, but not put Gaudu as a domestique or a co-leader. I would be very surprised, but also expecting Gaudu to be the leader perhaps in the Giro and in the Vuelta, at least in one of them. He definitely has the talent for it. He definitely has the consistency for it already. He's 24. He's shown plenty of times that he's a great rider for the Grand Tours. I have my full trust that he can battle it out for a top 5 in the Grand Tour this year. I have no doubt about that. Even though his time trialing isn't the best, the Giro and the Vuelta for sure won't favor it as much as the Tour does this year. I would put Pinot as a wild card, a stage hunter in those races. He can definitely target 1 week stage races in the beginning of the season, and he can win them, if I'm totally honest. I would not be surprised about that. And have Reichenbach in there as well, as a stage hunter mostly, try to get him out of those domestic duties that have blocked him over the last few years, and give him the freedom, especially in the final week. He's a rider that rides really, really well, and I still dream of seeing him win a stage in the Grand Tour. I'm not exactly sure if he has, but I would really expect him to take one if he has the opportunity for it. Gaudu and Madoua are discussed. Those are somewhat the plans that I expect from him this season. Riders like Kevin Genietz is someone that I'm really excited to see how he does in the classics, above all in the Ardennes. Perhaps Liège is something that suits him very well, going through Luxembourg actually, or almost there. Now I'm not 100% sure. Bruno Armirail is another big talent. He's 26 actually. I thought he was younger, but he's another big talent who's coming up. This season he was brilliant. I remember seeing him for the first time and really noticing him at the Tour Down Under, seeing his power numbers. Absolutely massive rider, big engine, and despite being in the mountains where we've seen him the most this season, in the Vuelta alongside Gaudu, he's more of a rouleur. He's a heavy rider who can climb very well, and those don't come often. Armirail is a tremendous rider. I would give him more freedom than he's had this season, and he's definitely a set stage winner. I have absolutely no doubt about that. A very similar rider to Alessandro De Marchi is what I would say. In the Vuelta, he played a role in the wins of Gaudu. I'm not sure if it were 2. If it was just 1, no, it was 1. He won a stage, Gaudu, and Armirail was there taking a very important role, and it was in the stage to Ramon Formigal where they both attacked together, and Armirail really pushed it off. Hello George, I see you in there. If you have any question to make, feel free to put it up in the chat. I'll answer it freely. Especially as I'm going to wrap up Groupama now, I'm going to mention a surprise that I expect this season and the rider to flop. I think think it's a nice way to put off this team. I'm doing good, George. I'm doing good. I hope you are as well. Uh, a surprise that I would put for this season, there are several riders in here that are of real quality, but of a small name. Stewart, for example, which I've mentioned. Jan Yates, of course, but the man that I would really put as the biggest breakthrough of the team for this season would definitely be Alexis Ronel. We haven't seen much from him in the second part of the season, but I specifically remember his results from early in the season in Bessèges. He won the first stage. He finished first in the overall, exactly, if I'm not mistaken, behind Bettiol and Guillaume Martin, maybe? Bettiol and Cosnefroy. I had no idea who Brunel was, actually. I had no idea who he was. He came onto the season absolutely flying, taking a win, leading the team. His confidence must have been sky high. He's just turned 22. He's, I would say, a ruler, but he can also do those short climbs very well. I expect a lot from him this season. He's similar to Armirail, but more explosive, I would say. I haven't gotten to see him race much yet, but I can't. I'm looking forward to doing so. And if I were to name a flop, it's tempting to go for Pinot. But the expectations aren't as high after what we've seen in the Tour, for example. I mean, I think that he's done for it when it comes to targeting the overall in the Grand Tours, at least for the Tour. In the others, maybe he won't. Maybe he'll still try. But I'm going with Pinot. Yes, I love him. I think he's a great rider, a brilliant pure climber. But the blows to the confidence that he must have taken, for sure, too many. At this point, too many. I don't think that he'll come back with the same confidence that he's had in the last years. I don't think he'll have the motivation above all, because he's really put it all out there to win the Tour, and he couldn't even come close because of injuries, because of illnesses, because of just a lack of consistency in the mountains. I expect to see him take a win or two next season, but no more than that. No more than that, unfortunately. It's not something that I like to say, and I hope that I'm wrong. I do, but I don't expect much from him this season. So, Groupama FDJ is wrapped up. The second team that I'm here to talk about today is the new presence in the World Tour. They got CCC's license. I'm gonna just call it Wanty-Gobert. It's the best way to describe this team, because it's gonna need some weeks or months to start calling them Intermarché. The first thought looking at this team really is, this is a pro-continental team with a World Tour license, pretty much. The likes of CCC, Israel, for example, in the last few years, are teams that went up from pro-continental to World Tour, and as soon as they did, they got big leaders. Even if it wasn't a really strong team, they got a leader or two. Israel got Dan Martin. CCC got Greg Van Avermaet. They also got Matteo Trentin recently. They had some big names that could occasionally strike some very good results. In Wanty, we don't find that. We find the squad that was here last season, with some names gone, that will definitely affect the team's performance, like Maurice and Dupont, mainly. These were two of the riders that brought in most results. But there was definitely some more budget to play with, and the team didn't get any big name, but they got several riders. A lot of them also coming from the World Tour, bringing experience, bringing some stage hunting qualities as well, obviously. They don't have any big hitters, so the first question lies on where can they get the wins? Where can they get those big results? And to answer that, I think we kind of have to split it in two. First of all, it depends on the calendar that they choose, because obviously they are going to have to be in every World Tour competition. They're going to have to focus in most of them, obviously. which is in theory a good thing, but at the same time it may be what's going to bring the results of the team really down, because if you go with this squad for Pro Continental calendar, you certainly have a lot of wins in the bag. You have a lot of quality riders, but when you're talking about the biggest races in the world, it becomes hard. It becomes real hard. And when you look at the best riders in the team, you really have the classic specialists, the Belgium classic specialists mainly. You have Loac Vliegen, Quinten Hermans, Odd Christian Eiking, and Nijmegen Gent. In my opinion, those are the four riders that are going to perform the best this season in the team. They all pretty much specialize in the same kind of races, though. That may be an issue. It's definitely going to give them good chances in the classics for a good result. You know, races like Amstel, Liège. I wouldn't be surprised to see them infiltrate the top 10 if they go for the Pro Continental Classics. If they do like AG2R, for example, which focuses on the national calendar a lot. I think that they can definitely take some good wins. They also have quite a lot of sprinters that can climb decently, like Pasqualon, obviously, like Danny Van Poppel, who is still 27, actually really young. He still has a very decent sprint. You know, these riders can net up some good results. My hope, because above all, I really hope that Wanty performs well this season. I really do want that. My hope is that they choose a lesser calendar, that they go easier. They perhaps don't focus as much on races like, you know, you're going to have so many. You're going to have, for example, the Dauphiné and the Tour de Suisse. And then you're going to have a lot of stage races like Catalunya, the Basque Country, Romandy. You know, the stage races, I don't see them doing anything. So I would, above all, try to give some experience in those races for some of the younger guys, not go with high expectations, and really try to focus on the Belgium classics, the Belgium stage races. There are lots of them, hopefully, if they go ahead, of course. I am counting on that. I'm hoping for that, above all. And I think that they can definitely do something with some of these names that I've mentioned a bit ago. Those should be the big hitters. The wins should come from the classics. There's Jonas Koch as well, who's an interesting rider who hasn't gotten many results, but is also very similar to... He's also a puncher, can sprint really well. The overall level of the team is exactly that. It's slightly lower, so they should focus on smaller races. If they want to succeed, if they want to bring in wins, if they want to keep the team motivated, above all, go to smaller races, don't focus on the World Tour. That is the best thing they can do, because they have the license, but they don't have the team to really net those wins. And Quinten Hermans is obviously one of the biggest questions over what he can do. At least personally, that's what I think. He is a tremendous rider, brilliant cyclocross rider, and I'm just gonna try to bring up his results from the last season, because if I'm not mistaken, no, it wasn't last season. It wasn't last season. It was 2019, where he's won here: Flèche du Sud, free stages, general classification, points classification, all at once. Led the race from start to finish. This is when I really realized that Hermans had tremendous potential for road racing, and it's the race that kind of triggered. It made me really like him. It made me really excited for what he can do. He can definitely ride it very, very well. He also has your top 10 finish in the Tour of Wallonie, which usually has really strong World Tour competition. Wasn't as strong this year, but still decent, with Loac Vliegen taking the win, of course. Exactly the kind of race the team needs to focus on. You know, you take a look at some results like these are very, very decent. Hermans is a super explosive rider. He's a puncher, of course, coming from the cyclocross background. He sprints really, really well. As you can see, even in cyclocross, he is used to taking some wins, even with big competition. What he can do this season, I know that he's going to focus in the Giro. I think that's a kind of a weird focus for him, to be quite honest. I would love to see him at the very best in the cobbled classics. I think that is where he can perform the best. I don't think he can have both cobbled classics and Giro focus at the same time and be at his best in both. I think that is a little hard, so I hope that he prioritizes the classics. That's where he can really perform. For sure, in the middle of the season, in the end of the season, the last few months, lots of classics, lots of one-day races. He can be there. He's also going to have the focus on the cyclocross starting October also, so you may not see him racing on the road much in the end of the season, but in these first few months I hope to see him win at least once. I love to see him race, and he's a rider that I love. I openly love Quinten Hermans. I hope he gets a good win. So with that said, I'm gonna go on to the final point of this video, which is one surprise and one disappointment for this year for the team. And for that, I'm gonna have to take a little bit of I'm gonna have to take another look, because there aren't many names that actually stand out. But the rider that I'm going with is Alexander Evans, because if I'm not mistaken, in 2019 he won on the Col de la Loze in the Tour de l'Avenir. Exactly, here is the result that I'm gonna bring up. Ever since he won this stage, and you can see that this is against world-class under-23 competition, all riders that are at World Tour level nowadays. He's from Trek. Wait, is he from Trek? He is, right? Exactly. Champoussan of AG2R, Jorgensen of Movistar, Foss of Jumbo Visma, just tons more riders. AG2R, Lotto, Bora, well, a teammate of his now, actually. Johan Garcia, this guy is not from the World Tour, but he's tremendous quality. This was a stage that was from start to finish the actual Col de Loze, nothing more, nothing less. And he's the one that won it. This is pure climber territory. From this day on, Evans is a rider that I really paid a lot of attention to. He hasn't came across this season with good results, but I really hope that next season he can stand out alongside Jan Hirt, for example, in the Giro. It's what I expect him. I expect him, and I hope that they both are at the Giro. Perhaps try to net a breakaway stage. I think both are quality climbers. I don't know how Evans will deal with Grand Tours. Hirt can definitely do it very well, especially for the first week. Evans is a quality rider, and I hope to see some good results out of him this season. And if I'm going to name a disappointment, now that is a hard question, because to be honest there aren't many names of which I'm expecting a lot from this season. I'm gonna say Jan Backlands. I personally don't have many expectations over what he can do this season, but clearly a lot of people do. A lot of people actually even see Backlands as perhaps the team leader, naturally because of his past as a Tour stage winner and yellow jersey wearer, as a World Tour stage winner and contender, with a lot of dignity actually. But I don't see him. I don't see him actually even at the level of the other punchers in the team. And I know that many people do. So the same way I did with Will Barta, I'm going to name Backlands more because of the public opinion that there is on him. So yeah, Evans is my name for a surprise. Backlands is my name for the lack of surprises, the lack of results comparing to what is expected of him. And that is what we've got for this episode. I am not yet sure which teams I'm going to be talking about in the next episode. They will be Ineos, just Ineos, a full video dedicated to them, whether it's solo, whether it's with someone. Stay tuned because it is coming out very, very soon. I hope